Hey everyone, welcome back to the Dusty Wheel. I'm your host, the Innkeeper, and this is our live call-in talk show all about the Wheel of Time. Now, before we begin, before we bring our special guest into the show, I just want to remind everyone that next Wednesday, April 1st, we're going to have Brandon Sanderson here with us, and he and I are going to cover a deleted scene from the Wheel of Time. We're going to talk all about the Amazon Prime TV series, and we'll even talk about Rhythm of War. It's going to be a lot of fun. Make sure you tune in for that. This Sunday, we were going to have Rebecca from Reading the Pattern with us. Instead, we've moved that to next Saturday. So our next show will be live with Brandon, and then after that, the following Saturday, we'll have Rebecca from Reading the Pattern covering the episodes of the first season. We get to kind of play some guesswork using all of our detective skills from everything that we've been given and see if we can't lay out all the 8 episodes. That's going to be a lot of fun. But that's not why you're here tonight. You're here because of the individual who I'm about to introduce. So without further ado, let's welcome Wheel of Time consultant, friend of mine, and Sarah Nakamura. Thank you very much, Sarah, for being here.
Hi, Matt. I'm so excited. This is a dream come true, quite literally. So this is so much fun.
This is a dream come true. So, I mean, that is a great segue, right? Like, I think it feels a little bit like we're dreaming a bit because this is that moment we've all been talking about for decades, right? We've been fan casting, we've been talking on forums, we've been showing up at conventions, we've been doing all of these things, talking about the books with that kind of eye to maybe someday someone like Amazon and Sony might pick this up and run with it. And now they have, right? So yeah, this is a dream, right?
It's pretty wild. And it does feel like something that we've been talking about forever. And everybody always asks what it's like or what this feels like, or has this hit you? And I cannot describe it accurately, just the excitement of seeing this thing come to life, or just knowing that it's coming to life. It's pretty surreal.
Yeah. Do you remember, so do you have a kind of a memory of that moment, the moment you knew for sure this was happening? And if you do remember that exact moment, can you describe it for everyone that's watching?
In terms of the first time I ever saw that the rights had been purchased, I think it was 2005 in a Variety article. So it was then that I knew that it was on we were on a countdown. It was only a matter of time. And so, yeah, so that was that. But whenever I really knew for sure that it was going to happen was basically when Rafe was brought on board, and that we had a pilot episode and it was being shopped around, basically. So that's when it was like, oh wait, there'd been so many false starts over the past 15 years that it's just kind of, I never lost faith or hope, but whenever that actually started happening, and I heard that we were pitching to different studios, it became very, very real, and that was before I was attached to the project at all.
Yeah, what does it? I mean, what does it mean to you? And maybe let's talk a little bit about that and kind of dig into that. Just the side of the fan in you. What does it mean to you that this is happening for all of us, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm not the only one, and people in chat can agree or disagree with me, but I, from the time I started reading the books, always inserted myself into the world and always imagined participating within the world, and so it is incredibly special to know that we're going to very shortly see this world coming to life, and it's something that is just another way to fully immerse ourselves into something, and this time we get to see it, and so
Yeah.
it's pretty wild.
are you excited for that aspect of it? The seeing it, like for example, for myself, none of my family is really, they haven't gotten into the books quite like I have, and so. But I'm excited for that moment to sit and have them see this and watch it. I feel like it's something that they'll be able to consume that way. Is that something you hope to do with your family and friends who maybe aren't as dedicated to as a reader of these books as you?
It's certainly a commitment of time. If you want to read the series, I certainly do not in any way, shape, or form try to force anybody to read the books. Both of my parents are reading it.
Oh, really?
And
That's
yeah,
fun.
or they're basically listening to it
Okay.
together, and so I'll get occasional updates from them, and it's my favorite thing. I say this all the time online. My favorite thing in the world is to see somebody and interact and engage with people who are reading for the first time. That's just it's so fun, and just kind of discovering the world through their perspective
Yeah.
is really fantastic. So I am so much looking forward to sitting down on the couch and watching this whole thing come to life, and then letting my son and my husband, having them experiencing it and see. I mean, just from a personal perspective, all of my hard work up
Yeah.
on screen. So like that's a personal perspective, but just from the fan perspective, it's almost like proving a point of how cool this is actually. And I'm not a giant nerd, and the world is really cool, and so are the characters. So that's I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yeah, I'm a little bit worried. Part of me is a little bit worried that we're gonna watch it and I'm gonna look over and my kids are gonna be staring at their phones. And I'll be like, "Watch this. This is
Oh my
important."
gosh.
I don't know how many this is important. Stop. You don't understand. Like I get it,
Yeah.
but watch this moment. That's what I find funny about just imagining. Like I've gone there and thought like, how am I gonna handle this emotionally when my family is just like, yeah, I'm not that interested. Just like I've wanted this so bad for them, I guess.
Oh, sure.
I,
I hope that, that rather than than them looking at it as the Wheel of Time, they're looking at it as a television show that's really, really cool.
yeah,
And then it just so happens that it's also about something that you truly love and adore. And so,
yeah, yeah.
maybe if they can mentally approach it in that way, but
Well,
who knows?
I mean, now they have to deal with this, right? They have this dusty wheel thing in their lives, so
Yes, they
I can tell
do.
them like, hey, someday you might get to the dusty wheel in the series. Like that's my hope that we get all the way to Towers of Midnight. So yeah, my hope is that they'll see this. It'll be fun for at least for me to see them have this kind of meta experience where this is happening in their real lives, and then they see this series on TV. So,
Yeah.
but to your parents, to the point where you brought up where your parents are reading it for the first time, I kind of want to find out about that. Like, how did you become? I mean, were you always like a reader from the time you were 4? I mean, do you remember the moment where you kind of just like globbed onto books and they became such an integral part of your life?
Yes. I was a just natural reader from as early as I can remember. Books were just such a huge part of my life, just in general. Uh, I don't know if there are any other homeschooled people out there, but when you're homeschooled, there's not a lot of opportunity for engagement with other
Yeah,
people. And so you really do find yourself building relationships through characters in books. And that was very much me. I had a massive active imagination, and it was made bigger by reading books. And so I think I was about 13 years old when one of my big brothers opened the door of my bedroom and he threw Eye of the World, the hardcover,
oh jeez.
at me. He said he threw it to me, but that like it, I ducked. So he threw it at me, and he just sternly told me to read it. He was like, read it. And then just turned and walked away. He was 17 at the time, and I was 14, and had already, devoured Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. at that point in time. And so I was, already loving the whole fantasy uh, vibe.
Yeah.
And so I,
By the way, I have older brothers, and he totally threw that at you.
yeah, he threw it at me.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I was like, well, okay. I mean, and he was in that period of his life where he was angsty and, just like the angry, my mom calls it the grumps, uh, that teenage boys get. And so he was just in that time in his life that, it's not easy being a teenage boy. And so, uh, it just was his way of finding connection with family.
Hmm.
And so I was like, well, he's, not really been talking a lot, so I guess I'm gonna do this. And it was just a gift, one of the greatest gifts that anybody's
Yeah.
ever given me in my whole life was him, throwing that book at me. And I read Eye of the World in 17 hours. I did not stop. When I
Nice.
picked it up, I read it, and then I remember knocking on his door. It was like 3 or 4 in the morning by the time I finished it, and I saw from the book cover that there were more books, and I asked him if he had the next one. And so at that point, he invited me into his room, and we just had a full on discussion about my thoughts and feelings and emotions, and that's just how it started.
Sure, sure. And by the way, so we have some people in chat asking this, and so I'll address this right now. They want to know if this is going to be spoiler free. And so for those of you that are watching, yes and maybe no. And what I mean by that is we'll do our best to not spoil things in the books. We are going to be talking about the books and kind of our shared, just like Sarah's been talking about right now. We'll try to preface this that there will be some spoilers, but no, we're not going to dig into all of the final events of all the books, and we won't go that far. But we'll be talking about certain characters in the books and just kind of what we love about fandom itself. So I would say this is a mild spoiler episode if you're curious, if you're watching, and we'll do our best. Like I said, we'll warn you. But yeah, to that point, Sarah, that you just made about your brother, is he now still kind of is he a huge fan and always has been since that moment, or did he just kind of read them and leave them?
No, I mean, he definitely is a just fantasy fan in general, and connected with the books as I think a lot of us do. He wasn't like me where he went back and read and reread and basically started and never stopped. But I do believe that he's
Yeah.
done a few rereads, and his recall is excellent. One of the reasons why I was reading and then I would reread because I would forget. And
Yeah.
so, he would absorb and things would stay in there, versus that was not my experience. And so, yeah, he's still, heavily into the series. And of course, now more than ever, he's just
Yeah.
so happy for me, and one of my biggest cheerleaders. 'Cause he's just so proud that, yeah, that
Does
I'm
he take credit for this a little bit? Does he
I'm sure that he does. It would not surprise me, in the very least, that he, pats himself on the back for for this and that, and like it would not surprise me.
Yeah, depending on how successful this is, I imagine, years down the road, people will be interviewing him and be like, yeah, I mean, essentially, this is here because
Yeah,
of me.
yeah, totally his fault.
So when you talked about that kind of immersing yourself in the books, I think I had a very similar experience. I had that at the time when I picked it up. I think maybe the Eye of the World was out. Maybe I'm dating myself a little bit here, but the Eye of the World was out. But then I think Great Hunt was just being released. Something I can't remember exact timing there, but I remember that. Like I'd pick up the book and I just would read it too fast, and then I
Hmm.
had to wait and I'd go back and read them all, and I just immersed myself in that. What was there a particular book moment that just sold you on the entire series? Was it Eye of the World and that was your favorite kind of like that's the thing that's been kind of keeping you going, or was it something as you kind of went along you're like, no, this book had the most meaning to me personally?
Sure. Yeah, I think, I would say obviously the first book has just a special place in my heart because it really introduced me to this type of fantasy, even though I had already read Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit, I just felt like it just took it a step further in terms of character relationships. And I mean that between the reader and the character, not necessarily between the characters themselves. And so I found myself really identifying with various characters, the boys and the girls within the series personally. And so obviously Eye of the World. The Great Hunt, at the time that I read it in my, just kind of naive head, I felt was, and still, I mean, I shouldn't say my naive head, but I felt like it was so cinematic. So The Great Hunt, and I hope that people have read The Great Hunt, but I'll just say this at the end, at the end of The Great Hunt, I'm not going to spoil anything or say anything, but there's this moment that I just imagined happening, and it was just like, it's so good. And obviously the Shadow Rising is just like, there aren't words.
Slays you. That tends to be, I think I've seen a bunch of polls. I mean, I think Daniel Green did a poll about this. Every time they do a poll out there, the Shadow Rising it resonates. And I wonder, have you ever kind of thought that through? Why people say the Shadow Rising so much, and what is it to you? Like you kind of give the signal, like this is just kind of kills you. That was like one of the best. Why? What is it that Jordan did there that he successfully did? Where all of us are like, that's it. That's the book.
Yeah, I think that's where we see each of the characters step into these roles as heroes, even though they're all reluctant. There's more of a sense of, just as the books went on, they all sort of embraced, again, reluctantly, but it was really the first book where each character does really, really big things. These are great big moments. And so I think that's really why the Shadow Rising is so fantastic, is because we get a glimpse of what's possible, and we get a glimpse of where these characters could potentially go. And so I think that's why the Shadow Rising is so great.
I love that you brought that up. So you said something before, and I want to kind of tackle that too, but like I want to stick on this idea of we see them climb into this role, right, for 3 books, reluctantly. And then we start to see them, in the Shadow Rising, just kind of embody these things. They don't necessarily want to, but they're so believable at that point. And I think that he's done, and through the Eye of the World, the Great Hunt, and Dragon Reborn, there's just you just accept the Shadow Rising as like the natural continuation. And, like Joe pointed out in chat just now, and yes, the books expand, right? We get different cultures, and just the books kind of blow wide open again and again. But I think the call out that you made was really good, which is there's something about them stepping into these larger roles. And I don't know if it's because, I mean, for me at least, I didn't get a book. I couldn't just go read them all at one time. And so I was getting older as I was reading them, in many ways. So it's like, I think the Shadow Rising, it was, maybe I was 16, 17 or something. And so I kind of, maybe it's part of that, is that journey also, at least for me, was seeing these people kind of mature and kind of taking on more responsibilities and kind of owning it. And like you said, kind of hitting these more heroic roles, and embodying them. But something you said before that I thought was really a cool way to think about why the Eye of the World and the Great Hunt kind of hit you. You talked about the relationships between the reader and the characters, not necessarily the characters and character relationships. I want to ask you about that. Like, what do you mean by that? Like, what do you think Jordan does well when it comes to the relationship between the reader and the characters?
Well, I mean, I think that's why so many people go back to the series over and over again. Is it's people, and this is, again, this is just my opinion. Like, I don't know for certain, but I think that the reason why people come back to the books over and over again is not because of the story. Sorry, my little earbud there thing falls out of my ear all the time.
No problem.
But it's not because of the story. People come back for the characters because I think they find themselves missing Matt's antics, or Moiraine's strength and determination. And so Robert Jordan did that just so beautifully, creating these characters that are so human that you're connecting with them on a human level, and you find yourself just truly missing what they bring to your day-to-day life. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I mean by that, and that's why I never stopped reading.
And missing, yeah, there is a certain, yeah, there, I think that often, at least for me, like I was kind of I just, I was a junkie for all of the metaphysical side of things. I think I
Mm-hmm.
love the character Lanfear because she's so involved in Tel'aran'rhiod. She's so, that there's pieces of the world. Right, we first, I mean, this is a light spoiler, but we first meet her, as part of in a mirror world.
Mm-hmm.
It's like this. I think the mix of that character. I've often wondered why I'm so enchanted by her as a character. But yeah, we miss these characters, and I think that is why the rereading and rereading. We always tell somebody, on Twitter, this happens all the time. Someone's like, "Okay, now what do I do? I've read all the books," and everyone's like,
Start over.
"Yeah, I don't know. What else do you
Yeah,
do?" Like, there's like this
yeah.
natural inclination from most fans where they're like, "Well, the right answer that you'll eventually come to understand is you just start over because
Mm-hmm.
you're going to miss these characters, and you're going to, and not only that, because you did miss things about these characters, right? You start going back through and you realize like, oh, he's so masterful about this that he made this for people that read this again too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this was never just meant to be a single consumption and move on. This was a world that he wanted you to be able to live in and enjoy over and over again. And he did that so well. But it was there a particular character for you that resonated more? Was there a character where you kind of came back and were reading again and again for that particular character, or was it like a group of them?
Um, Definitely, uh, Moiraine is the obvious answer. Uh, she, to me, was my idol, and I looked up to her so much just because of uh, her determination, and how steadfast she was, and how loyal she was to her cause, and how she was so dedicated to her cause that it nothing else mattered, and that she would quite literally sacrifice everything that she held dear to reach that particular goal, obviously, which was finding the dragon. That's not a huge spoiler, as we know,
Right.
because it happens in the first couple chapters. But yeah, the so I would find myself needing to go back and read her just at various points in my life whenever I was feeling unsure of a chosen path.
Hmm.
Um, or just, yeah, anytime there was any sort of uncertainty, going back and rereading her in particular would help to remind me of what it all is for, or kind of refocus in. And so definitely her. I was obviously loved reading Matt. He felt like one of my brothers and a sibling, and somebody that I could laugh with all the time, and that uh, as I got older, I started to appreciate Nynaeve so much, just from a real level. What the reality would look like if somebody came and stole, three of or four of my people, from my village that I cared for, and how that would make me feel. And so, yeah, just from like that mama bear fierce uh, fierceness about her is
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
something that I so relate to. And then Perrin, I would say that he was my first crush in my
Yeah.
life, my
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
love. Yeah, I loved Perrin, and I still do. He's one of my favorite to read. So, yeah, it was very important to me to, to find a partner and a mate that was similar to Perrin, and so that's what I used to look for.
Yeah, well,
Talk about real world stakes.
yeah, right. Well, I've heard that a lot. That comment of this is the type of person I looked for. There are so many characters, right? We always talk about this in the Wheel of Time. There's just so many that everyone does find something alike in a character of, maybe a good friend of theirs, or maybe someone they don't like, or in this
Yeah.
case, someone that they've married. I have, if I think about my wife and I think about characters that I really love, I do associate her with some characters in the Wheel of Time. And that's what I find really fascinating about these discussions of fandoms is this almost all the time comes up when you've spoken to somebody who's read the books a bunch of times. They're like, yeah, I think I kind of married someone just like Moiraine or someone like
Yeah.
Egwene, because of this reason. And this is the thing I always liked about that character. So that aspect I really, yeah, I think everyone has that story, and I love hearing that from you. That you saw that in the aspect of someone you married. This
Yeah.
concept of this is what I really found that I loved about that character, and this is why I went back and read them. And speaking, and by the way, those that are watching, I saw some of our live viewers. They're awesome. They're like, "Hey, like this video." Yeah, if you're here watching this, please give us a like, so your fellow fans can come watch this and have fun with us, and subscribe if you haven't. We love doing this content. Yeah, right. We love having guests here talking about the Wheel of Time, and we'd love to have you as a viewer after this. But this concept of Moiraine, which because I want to, yeah, and Team Moiraine, right? Like this, you've always been part of that. What is it? What as she meant? Because you said there was this moment. There have been moments where you've gone back and looked for kind of inspiration for making decisions. Is there one that you kind of comes to mind that isn't too personal that you can share with us, like where this actually kind of affected kind of a real life decision that you made, where you kind of paired this idea of like how she did it, how she pursued it, and why you did something?
Yeah, I mean, without being too spoilery, it's
Yeah.
happens within the Shadow Rising, but this idea of high stakes and humbling oneself um, for the greater good, even if maybe not necessarily the situation was I mean, that's hard. I don't want to, not the situation was right, of course, it was correct, but that she, as this woman of strength and power and pride, and not negative pride, but she
Yeah.
just uh
Confidence. Yeah.
yeah, just all of that, and that she would do that and really take it there, uh no matter how much it hurt, was just really something that I myself, yeah, think about a lot. And it comes into play in life all of the time. And so, yeah, that's one moment that really sticks out to me.
Yeah. That did stick. So that stuck out to me too. So you and I have met. We met at JordanCon,
Mm-hmm.
and and this Team Moraine moniker.
Yes.
It's easy to kind of take casually as fans. You're like, yeah, I mean, I'm Team Lanfear or whatever it is, Team Varen, but it was something that you and Christy really like owned. Like that's what I realized when I first got to know you, was like, no, this is serious. This is
Oh yeah.
this is very personal. And so it was interesting to kind of have that interaction with you, especially through Loony Theories. You and I have talked about this before. If
Yeah.
any of those watching, if you've heard us talk about Loony Theories, it's a panel I've run at JordanCon for many years, and it's literally the whole concept of coming up with a crazy theory that's just plausible enough to be fun to play with, right? We just have enough, but it can't be too plausible, otherwise it's not loony. And I just remember the first time when you and Christy came in, and you kind of like you made it into a drinking game, if you remember
Yeah,
this.
yeah. No, we hijacked your panel that first year that Loony Theories ran, and I mean that's what happens at Jordan Con sometimes is there can be lots of Jello shots, and
Exactly.
so I think we wandered in, and it had already been going, and I think we just popped into the room and um yeah, quickly got on board with this idea of plausibility versus possibility, and any whose idea or theory was out there enough but still fit within the story somehow, but it has to be crazy, it has to be loony, it cannot be plausible. But those people that really took it there, we were giving different shots and things like that, and this was 10 years ago or 11
Yeah,
years
yeah, yeah.
ago now. Not something that I could maintain
Yes,
to this
exactly.
day.
But it was fun when you guys came in because well, at least for me, that kind of fandom with Wheel of Time, I totally get behind this idea of just
Yeah.
having fun. Jordan, he gave us so much, just playing with all the concepts and just having fun with this world that he created. I think was that's when I was like, okay, Christy and Sarah are awesome. They're my kind of Wheel of Time fan. I know that maybe that sounds like I don't mean to be uh, categorical in that way. Like I don't love all the Wheel of Time fans. It's just like, oh, I get them. And so
Yeah.
when I knew you were passionate about Moraine, I was like, oh, I get this, right? Like I'm just as passionate about these things. Now
Yes.
your passion kind of led somewhere recently, and I think a lot of fans, that are watching right now, they're kind of curious. Not only they're like, who's Sarah? Like, I mean, then maybe they're coming in and they're like, Sarah Nakamura, okay, Wheel of Time consultant, but, and why Sarah? And I don't know if you want to kind
Yeah.
of speak to that a little bit. Like, what do you say when people ask you that kind of question?
Yeah, sure. So, I think talking about Looney Theories is great because it really was training for me, for this job that I'm doing currently, which is I work on the day-to-day aspects of the TV series that's coming out on Amazon one day. And so, this idea of plausibility and possibility comes into my life a lot. And so that's kind of one part. But then,
Yeah.
uh, and by the way, you guys, I did a full blown Q&A about my work and about what my job actually is, with Daniel Green, and I think that's coming out in a few days. But just on a very kind of basic or short explanation is
Yeah.
that this is something that I went after, that I knew that I wanted to do, and that this journey started for me when Lord of the Rings came out. And so it became, seeing that Lord of the Rings made it possible in my mind that the Wheel of Time would be turned into something. And so because of that, I knew that I needed to have a skill. And so that's, from whatever, 18 years ago. And so that in and of itself sort of set me on the path to where I'm at today, because I was just very aware that it could happen. And then when it did, basically the article that came out, I think in 2016, that Sony had, I can't remember exactly what, but basically I again was very vocal that this is something that I wanted, and the people that had the rights at the time had already known me from JordanCon, as they'd known a lot of us fans, and had brought a lot of us fans on board just to talk about things. yeah, so there's me, Jason, there's a lot of fans that were involved at that point. And
Yeah.
so I think locationally I was there, I was available whenever Rafe started talking about the need for somebody. And so I was just the natural person to bring on board at that point. And like I said, I was very vocal
Yeah.
about wanting to be involved.
This is
So
your, yeah. I
yeah,
mean, I think Rob just said it right. You chased your dream,
I
and I
did.
think yeah, and I think that's very inspirational. And you bring up Moraine, and you bring up this concept. I think it's really inspirational for fans to see that someone who just really wanted this thing
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to be a part of it is a part of it. And I know you probably get this moniker. People throw this around that you're a super fan.
Yes.
So do you think of yourself as a super fan? Like, what does that mean to you when people say you're a super fan?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I wear that as a badge of pride and honor of being a super fan. I think a super fan can mean various different things to just really passionately loving uh, some type of material to, you know, never stopping reading it for 20 years, to making it a part of your daily life. I would consider you a super fan, Matt. You know, you're an influencer and creating content now constantly, which is so great. And so, to me, a super fan can just mean somebody that's passionate
Yeah.
and really, really excited about certain material. And so I'm, at work all the time. They're like, oh, there she is. There's the Oracle. There's the book girl. Um,
The Oracle, I love
yeah,
it.
there's the lore queen. But
Nice.
those in the know, those that have been reading for a while and that are kind of dialed in, call me Keeper. So
Keeper, nice.
yeah, yeah.
That's something, the lore queen. Yeah. So speaking to that concept, what does, if everyone's always like, okay, well, what does this look like? What not your day to day. Not That's not the question. I mean, what did it? What is prep for for this becoming the Oracle? What does this weight of that responsibility look like? What are you doing on a daily basis to be that lore queen? What were you doing? To get to this
Yeah.
point?
I think having uh, a vast knowledge is important. The depth of knowledge is incredibly important. Not being able necessarily to be like, oh, this is, this specific chapter, and
Sure.
this is the line from it, and being able to pull that from thin air, because that's not, realistic for me, at
Yeah.
least. I can't do that. But what I do have the ability to do, and what is my major talent, is whenever somebody comes to me and is like, oh, that scene, and where I think that happened or this thing happened, and they kind of describe it to me, and I'm like, I know that scene. I'm able to, pull it up. I know what book it's going to be in. I know what part of the book it's going to be in. So there's not a lot of time wasted with me searching for things.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so that's one aspect of kind of the preparation. The other part, which I don't know how controversial this is learning to divorce myself from the material.
Sure.
Now, there are two very different versions of Sarah. There is this one that you're talking to right now, the super excited, super fan. And then there's the other Sarah who needs to be rational about the books and the story, and to be able to talk about it in a way with people that is non-judgmental and that
Sure.
is open-minded and supportive, and so and willing to hear different perspectives uh without casting judgment, because
Sure.
it's a creative process, and so you never want to, um because of a fan knee-jerk reaction, uh tell somebody that what they're doing or how they're thinking about something is wrong.
Yeah.
Even if I might disagree with that perspective or that outlook, it's very important to be able to see the vision and to see all sides in a way that is not tied into how I personally feel about things. And
Yeah,
so that's hard.
yeah, no, I imagine that that's very difficult. And especially in this type of process where there's an adaptation going on. I think Brandon even talked about this. Like he would rather that there was a vision driving this than somebody just reading off the pages and trying to kind of, word by word, put the vision, the pages onto the screen. And that vision or that adaptation that we always talk about, yeah, that puts you in a unique position as the Oracle or Superfan on set, as this individual who they've come to for, your opinion. But ultimately, you're not the showrunner. Ultimately, you're not, the person that's, putting the funding in for the show. So, in the end of the day, you are, so yeah, it does kind of put you into that a unique spot. How has that been from? I mean, yeah, I think fans want to know, like, how are you doing? From a weight perspective, like, how do you handle that kind of responsibility, but that kind of narrow, what I would imagine, like you're trying to weave this thread through a very narrow, space and
Sure.
hoping to get there to a place where you're ecstatic still and fans are ecstatic and still respect that kind of part of the process and what part you play in it.
Yeah. So I think that's great. I uh, feel a lot of pressure every single day. And, just because it is such a weighty thing because of various different reasons. One reason is because we have been waiting for this for so long. Another reason is because the fans are so personally invested in the characters. And possessive of the story, and so there's this level of pressure that I personally feel to make sure that the information that I provide is correct and it's supported and it's not my personal opinion.
Sure.
Because I really don't. Yeah, it's very important to me that that's very, very clear, is that other people are kind of building out the story that exists from canon. It's just my job to provide as true, accurate, and unbiased information as I possibly can. And then if there's ever a question of something, if something's in a gray area, I try to provide information that is from various schools of thought, and then
Sure.
let the people build or take from that information what they will.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it's a very heavy burden. I wouldn't trade it in for anything. I
Right.
obviously love what I'm doing, but there is that aspect, and I do get notes and messages and emails and private like just everything of don't ruin this, and
Oh, geez. Yeah.
you better get this right, don't let us down. And it's like I'm
Mm.
like I know. And so
Right.
yeah, but I don't at this point don't have any sort of creative power in terms of decision making.
Yeah.
Uh, but I do know that because I am somebody that um, has a lot of knowledge, that people understand and respect the level of knowledge, if that
Yeah.
makes sense, that
Yeah,
I
no, it
have. So
does.
yeah.
It does. And even like people kind of laugh. There's like the Twitter of Time dance party on Tuesdays. and
Yeah.
and I can imagine for you that's just like a stress relief, right? It's just
Yeah.
like let's step away, let's be among the fans, let's just have a ridiculously fun time out here because of, there's some serious decisions being made and impactful decisions and such. So for those of you that aren't on Twitter, you should go find, Twitter time it's fun. The Wheel of Time community
Yeah.
on Twitter, it's fun in a lot of places. It's just, I've seen a lot more of it in Twitter, and everyone's that I've at least run into extremely nice and engaging, and you can tell the fans there just love the books and are very supportive for this
Yeah.
very part of it. Very supportive of you. Hopefully, you're not getting too many of those. Hopefully, you're getting very positive messages and not too many of the you better not ruin it or something. Yeah, I hope you're not seeing too much of that. By the way, for those of you that are watching, yeah, is it an equal mix? Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Man. For those of you that are watching, this is a live call-in talk show. We are going to try to take some calls. And I would ask that everyone just try to be as respectful as possible for the time of all your fans waiting for questions. And my suggestion to you would be try to ask a question that Sarah can answer. That is, that she obviously, if you ask too many details about what's happening on the set, you might not get an answer, but you can try. Yeah. So feel free to give us a call. It's 1-313-TALK-WATT. That's 1-313-825-5968. And while we're waiting for some individuals to kind of call in, let's see if anyone's brave enough to kind of ask you a question. I have some questions from fans that I've tried to weave them into our discussion here, but there were some that I wanted to ask that came in Twitter. And one of them was, has any of the cast or crew asked you a question that surprised or stumped you? Has that ever happened?
Well, I had a really fun conversation with Yosha one day when he was, I don't remember what book he had in his hand in particular, but we actually weren't talking about the books at all. He had we were talking about the books, but something that was like, book adjacent, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure.
And so then he makes this comment about Pennywise and this the idea of wanting to play somebody that sadistic and twisted, and I just laughed. And got the opportunity to talk to him a little bit about Dumais Wells and Rand's arc after book 6. To which, obviously he was like, you've got the dream role. Like, you want to play Pennywise, you're on that path. And so that was a fun moment for sure.
Yeah, then that's you bring up an interesting piece of this question that a lot of fans have, which is, how much, and I think I've seen some fans ask this on Instagram lives when some of the crew and cast have done some of their, have you read the books and how far along are you? There's so much subject material here, and you're bringing up this piece. And for those of you that are watching that are like, oh no, are they going to spoil the books? Yeah, obviously the characters change over 14 books. So, and that's what I kind of wonder, I think, is that always a surprise how often, I guess, are you having those conversations where you say, hey, by the way, here's your character arc?
That has to be up front and sort of central. But I always do ask, I'm like, do you want me to tell you what happens? And all of them say yes. And so, I definitely do give that heads up, but it's also something that I'm very general about because I don't know, personally I'm not an actor at all, but I would imagine that having too much information about where this character is going might affect some decisions that I'm making. But again, I don't know, I'm not an actor. I just imagine that might be the case, and so I try to be very broad and general, and but also answer questions.
Yeah. No, I imagine it's probably really difficult to just, because you could write, you could spend months trying to, okay, this is the next level of understanding of your character.
Yeah. Yeah.
We do have a caller. Let's bring it. The caller's name is the Badger Reborn, and he would like to. I think it's he would like to ask a question.
Awesome.
Hey Badger, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing today?
Hello.
Hi, pretty good. I'm super nervous, but thanks for letting me take this call. Hi, Sarah.
Hello.
So what's your question for Sarah?
So I know you can't describe like a specific scene, but I was wondering in general if you could talk about like if there's ever been a time where during filming the writers or directors have brought you over and asked you questions and sort of how that process goes.
Yeah, I can't, like you said, go into a lot of detail, but what I can say is that, each head of department, whether it's, costumer or director or anything, they have full-blown access to me, including days where I'm on set. I'm not on set every single day, but in this last little bit before we all kind of had to flee Prague, I was on set every single day, and sitting right next to our director Sally and our producer Justine to be available for just some very intense scenes that it was very important to get them right, just in terms of protocol.
Yeah, that's great question, Badger. Really appreciate it, man. Thanks for giving us a call. Thanks for being our first caller today. I really appreciate that. Hey, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah,
talk to you later.
Sure thing. Bye-bye. Yeah, I think that question does come up, which I see, and I saw it on Twitter also. Can you kind of give us a general idea of what your day looks like, or what an average day, I guess, or what are you doing on the set? Yeah.
I mean, it just kind of it for me, it just kind of varies widely. It's really cool to work on a production because everything is literally just taken care of for you. I don't have to think about when I'm gonna leave the house or how I'm gonna get from A to B. I have a van that picks me up every single day. I get told the night before what time I'm going to be picked up. I get a menu the night before. I get to order my breakfast and lunch. And so, it's really, they make things very easy for you. You don't have to really think, which is fantastic. And then they also, before there was a shortage, they also used to stock our fridge with Dr. Pepper for me before the Dr. Pepper ran out. So that was also very nice. But yeah, my days are really wild. So I have my own personal office where I can spend all day in, doing, just answering various questions from production.
Yeah.
I could be in the writer's room all day, just being available for them and, so that I also can see where the season is being mapped out and how the season is being mapped out so I can prepare.
Looks like we might have lost Sarah there. So we'll... Oh, there she is. She's back. You are back, Sarah. I just can't hear you right now. Let's see if that... We can't hear you right now. Nope. No audio yet. It's live. No audio yet. Nope. Yeah. I like how Joe said, so there's a listening, if you're listening but not watching. We're just waiting to get Sarah's audio dropped, so we're just waiting to get her back in here and see if we can't have her... what's the... What we can probably do here is... hey, Taylor, do you want to... No, you can put it on. Leave it on there. So, and maybe hand me the phone there, and I'll ping her there. So, oh yeah, that's a great idea. I'll let her know that she can call back in.
If she's using AirPods, probably the one she's using.
1 second, we'll try to get Sarah back. So yeah, well, what's that? And so yeah.
It was probably your AirPods.
So we'll just gonna wait for her to give us a call back in. Thanks everybody. Yeah, I love all the people that are watching. Taylor's like, hey, while we have a moment, if you guys missed the show, this was given to us by Lauren from the Unwrapping the Pattern. So if you didn't see this last night, this is awesome. Yeah, we'll just gonna wait for her to give us a call back, and or if her audio comes through. And but until then, I love all the comments about Flickr. I kind of want to ask everybody, what have we asked or not asked that you're kind of curious about? So, oh, there you are, Sarah.
There I am. Sorry, guys. Let me see. There was some alert that started on my phone.
No worries.
And that, it booted me. But so I was talking about just like my day-to-day, right?
Hey, Sarah, do you want to flip your phone to the side, or is it horizontal right now? There.
It is. Hold on. Let's see. Let's try to
There you go. Perfect.
Did I do it? All right.
Yeah, you got it. That's a good job. Everybody's using the Flickr.
Oh, I know. Good for them. It's one of those things, man. It's live television.
Yeah, that's okay.
But
it just is. That's no problem.
Yeah, sorry about that. I got it was one of those safer at home alerts that just popped up on my screen, and I exited out, and then just everything went nuts.
No problem.
So sorry. So basically, I can be picked up, and I go, and I'm in the writer's room, or I am in my office, or I'm on set, or I'm a combination of all three of those. So there can be a day where I am in the writer's room in the morning, and then on set in the afternoon until we wrap.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And so it's it can be really intense and kind of crazy, because we're not always filming where the writer's room is. So then I have to just hop in another van and get taken to the location. And so, but it's also, way fun. It's really cool. So
was it different? Is it completely different than you ever expected it to be? Basically, is this experience been something that you couldn't have predicted, and just is so different than, or is this kind of what you anticipated back when you brought up the Lord of the Rings? You're like, okay, this is exactly what I'm going to be the Oracle on a set somewhere someday.
Well, definitely never imagined getting to be involved on the level that I'm involved.
Yeah.
I do talk about this more with Daniel, but the fact that I am quite literally within the creative nucleus of the show is awesome, because it's not like I have one viewpoint. I get to see everything that's happening.
Yeah.
And that is really special and unique, I think. I'm also very lucky in that Rafe is one of the most generous human beings on the planet. and understands my love and passion, and perhaps allows me to be more involved than somebody of my title normally would be. Because he knows how important it all is to me. You know, he knows how meaningful it all is. And so I owe that man so much. And I'll get text messages. I'll be up in my office and he'll be like, hey, you should really come down on set and see what's about to happen.
Wow.
And so, you know, that's like, and it's just like something that, you know, he knows just as a fan that I would just die to see. And so that's really also pretty cool.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Well, we do have another caller. We actually have a bunch kind of queuing now. So let's bring Andrew into the show.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How you doing?
Can you hear me?
Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I guess the question I have for Sarah is, do you have your own set of books that you bring with you, or do you use like an e-Kindle? Or sort of how do you have to, if you have to reference something through the books, how do you look it up?
Yeah, I have my handy dandy iPad that has all of the digital copies of the books for when I'm on set. And I also have a really cool app on my phone, or not on my phone. I have a really cool app on the iPad where I'm able to import, just import the book into the script app where I've got, you know, my version of the script. And so that I can make sure that I've got, you know, side by side scenes and information that I need that I can kind of pull notes from. So that's really, really handy. I have a full hardback set at my office in LA. I have a full hardback set at home, all first editions, all signed by Robert Jordan or Brandon Sanderson.
Nice.
Yeah, I have a full paperback set. I have a full hardback set at my office in Prague. So yeah,
you have a couple books.
I just have a few of them, but yeah, there's quite a few. But yeah, whenever I'm working, I definitely use my my digital copies. For sure.
Andrew, thank you. Here's a great question, man.
I got one quick eyeball question. If this show ever gets nominated for Emmys, are you going to be able to go to the Emmy Awards?
Probably.
Thanks, Andrew.
I probably won't get to sit at the main table with like all the cool kids. I'll probably sit way in the back, but if there's availability, I'm certain that they would let me be there.
That's so cool. I hadn't even gone there. Right.
Yeah.
That's an interesting thought. Oh man, I hope we get there. Right. I want this to be there for seasons. I want this to be the decade of the Wheel of Time, like the 2020s. It started off a little bit weird for the world, but and tragic for the world. I'm hoping that's not how it ends. And so
there's a certain episode that I am certain will be in contention for awards. So yeah, I'm cool. Counting on it.
That's awesome. We have another caller. His name is Philip. His first time caller. Let's bring him into the show. Hey, Philip, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing today?
Oh, hey. I'm doing great. I'm calling for White Noise.
Oh yeah, nice. Well, welcome. Can you hear us there?
Sorry, I can hear you guys great.
Okay, good. Your audio is just cutting out there a little bit. So what's your question for Sarah?
So I was just wondering, because this is a big thing for me in the transition between book to screen, is what the thought process is on accents for the different nations and the different people.
Yeah, that's a great question, and something that a lot of thought has been put into, but I have to waffle that just because it might do some things that I can't spoil. But what I can say is that that there's a dialect coach. She is phenomenal. and that pronunciations are incredibly important. And when we establish something, that's how it's said. And so, yeah, a lot of thought is put into the language that and the words and phrases that Robert Jordan created. And Rafe already mentioned this the other day, including Old Tongue, which
awesome.
I've been actually, our dialect coach is, she's heavily into linguistics, and for fun, like, we don't have enough to do. But from the available language and information that she has, she's trying to build out an entire, like, full-blown language. And so that's, like, just because she loves the idea of building out a language, not because we're going to use it in the show.
That's awesome. What a great.
But it's really, I mean, she's a big fan of Robert Jordan and how he crafted the language, and is fascinated by it. And it's also something I'm fascinated with. And so that's been a really special thing. So sorry I can't be more specific, but I hope I gave some additional tidbits that might be fun.
Hey Philip.
No, it's great.
Philip.
I was just sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just wondering, because doing research for the background of Wheel of Time, trying to get myself back into the series after hearing the show was in production. I heard that Robert Jordan said that, like, the Sanshin had, like, Texas accents, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we giggle about occasionally. I can't say for certain, but I don't know if the Sanshin are going to have Texas accents.
Hey, Philip, thank you very much for calling, man. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate you calling in, and what a great question.
Yeah,
and,
I love that.
Hopefully we'll see you again at the Dusty Wheel, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Philip.
All right.
Hey,
all right, thanks.
Matt, I have a question. Are you still, do we still have a visual of you?
We should. Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I don't know. I guess, did I, for you, you don't see my visual? Oh, I see what you're saying. You don't see me.
Yeah.
I got
That's
you.
okay. No, we're good.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, that's a good question. For those of you that are watching, Wafo is Watch and Find Out. Robert Jordan was famous for saying read and find out, RAFO, or how you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
And now it's very appropriate, and I imagine we'll be hearing a lot of that from you and from those of you, maybe those of the cast and crew. Maybe they'll pick it up too, and they'll just be saying Wafo a lot. I'd love to see that become a moniker for everyone.
Same.
That would be, we need to make that happen.
Yes.
So,
same. I agree.
Beth from Indiana. Let's bring Beth into the show.
Hi, Beth.
Hey, Beth. Welcome to Dusty Wheel. How you doing? So, what's your question for Sarah?
Glad to be back. Doing great here. I just want to know,
Taylor,
at first sight, which has the biggest wow factor, the sets or the costumes?
Ooh, that is a hard one. Oh man, because our costume designer Isis is a genius. She's so incredible, and then this is a cop out, because it, like, walking onto the sets is so incredible, because it's an actual dream come true of stepping into a place that I only imagined in my mind, and then it becoming a reality is such a special thing. But I always have had such a special place in my heart for all of the cost or the wardrobe within the Wheel of Time. And so seeing all the various shapes and textures and colors and just everything being so thoughtfully and meticulously crafted is pretty incredible too. And so I would say I couldn't possibly choose between two children. Same with this. Our production designer is also just incredibly brilliant and so into detail, and once you guys see the show and just pay attention even to just the smallest things, look in the background and see, look at the walls or the windows, and just the detail that's put in is
is so phenomenal. So yeah, but I do, well, no, one of my last days on set, I had an incredible emotional reaction to some costumes, and actually just fully lost it and cried very, very hard. And I've never lost my mind. I get very teary-eyed, but I don't actually just kind of give up and sob. I've never done that, but on that day, that happened. And whenever I can, whenever the show comes out, I'll actually share the story and I'll share photos, because it was so powerful and something that I've thought about for so long. And then to see it all happen. Yeah, I was actually boo-hooing, crying so hard. Our director came up, Sally, and she just held me as I just cried into her shoulder, because she knew like it was just such a big deal and so important. And so yeah, it was anyway. Yeah, thinking about it, I get emotional because it was really special. So thank you for that question, Beth.
Yeah, Beth, thank you so much for calling in and giving that question.
You have got chills running up and down my back right now.
Oh, good. Oh, good.
Awesome. Yeah. Have a good one, Beth. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So yeah, we have just a couple more calls, and yeah, we're just gonna take these last three, and then we'll finish up together here. And this hopefully won't be the last time we see Sarah at the Dusty Wheel. And
absolutely will not.
By the way, thank you so much for doing this again, Sarah. I know we're doing these calls, but really appreciate you spending the time.
I love it. I love it.
Oh yeah, I can't wait till we actually do our Loony Theories episode. It's gonna be great.
I'm so excited. We'll get Christy on board too. She has to come.
Oh yeah, she has to come. She has to come. Let's bring in Ashen Crow. Let's bring him into the show and see. Hey Ashen, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing?
Hello.
Hi guys, I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for your time, Sarah. You're wonderful.
Oh,
now I'm
thanks.
I'm a dues-paying stagehand, and I understand that, time requirements and budgets matter when you're doing a show, and you can't always, just, let's make that movie in our head that we all have when we read the books.
Right.
It's real. Now, my questions are, it's just kind of a little series of questions. Hopefully you can answer a couple of them.
Okay.
Go for a single one. We'll start off with a single one, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Right. When were you brought into the process? How early on? And how do you feel the balance of storytelling, as we all know it, versus time and budget constraints is working out? Are they staying true? And did the production designer read the series?
Okay, so that's great. Those are great. I was Rafe's first or second hire, so
wow.
Incredibly early.
Wow,
yeah, I it's between me and AK, which is one of our executive producers and kind of in charge of the room whenever Rafe isn't able to be there, which is incredibly rare. But so yeah, it was one of the first hires onto the show. In terms of the second question, which I think was how true are we staying? What I can say is that we are lucky enough to be working with Amazon. And Amazon is a massive company. They're not like HBO where they rely on, the monthly subscriptions and things like that for their production and for their budgets. It's Amazon, so it's huge. And so in terms of that aspect, I wouldn't worry too much about things being cut because of budget, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then what was the third part of the question?
I think it was
did the production designer read the series?
Okay, so our production designer is Andre, and he is one of my favorite humans ever.
and he speaks only Czech and relies, and there are Czech versions of the series, but he he relies very heavily on the research documents that I send through to him. But also he's got an incredible team around him that are reading, but he just literally has no time at all. He is one of the busiest people on the entire production.
Well, hey, thank you, Ashton, very much for those questions.
Thank
those
you.
were really good, man. Hey,
love that.
Hopefully you give us
Thank you for taking the calls, and my gosh, thank you for taking care of Andre.
Oh yeah, he's the best.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Bless.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. So great questions. Sounds like a great guy, and that's interesting insight. Really appreciate you. I think that again, just all of these. Just kind of pieces together a lot of hope and trust, I think, at least for me. I think I've said this before, the casting I'm really excited about, but just some of the answers you're mentioning, something Rafe has said recently, it just amps up the excitement in general. We just have two more callers. Let's bring Dana in. Hey, Dana, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing?
Dana.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks for being here.
Oh, well, I'm so happy to be here.
So what's your question, Dana?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I understand the Dr. Pepper love because I am a Texan, and it is the nectar of the gods.
It sure is.
My question for you is, can you tell us some sort of funny story, something about one of the cast members, not anything that happens on set while they're acting, but just interactions with them? I just want to know a little bit more about the people who are playing, and if you tell us something funny, it'll tell us something about those people.
Sure. Yeah. I would say that from my experience and perspective, that Marcus is the practical joker on set. He is so just such a joy to be around, and just genuinely a kind soul. He's just a soulful individual, and he
is he like a big teddy bear?
Yes, I call him my dinosaur. He's huge. He can pick me up because I'm only 5 feet tall. So people think it's very funny to pick up the tiny little person under their arm. And so there's I would say that I would say I can't there are so many things that I would love to talk about that I would spoil, but there was one day where, and imagine Rosamund Pike, and she's this beautiful, poised woman, actress, and can just deliver anything, and just seeing her completely fall apart and laugh over just a particular scene or dialogue, and her getting the giggles has been one of my favorite things to watch, just because you see her on screen and all of her performances are so incredible, and then to see this really human side to her it's so fun. And when she gets the giggles, everybody gets the giggles. So her laugh is really phenomenal. I would say that I think any other everything else that kind of happens is it would be too spoilery, but I will also say that
oh no, that's fine.
Yeah, that Hamid,
that's great.
The first time Hamid walked on set and spoke, he's just a scene stealer, the guy that plays Loyal. So I think everybody's going to be very excited about that.
So cool.
Yeah.
Hey, those were awesome.
I cannot wait to see him as Loyal.
Yeah, he's great.
Great question, Dana.
Thank you.
As always, Dana, really appreciate you being here at the Dusty Wheel and appreciate the call. It's great.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
Hey, have a good evening.
Thank you.
Yep,
Thanks,
bye-bye.
Dana.
Bye.
Yeah, that was great. Okay, we'll do this last question. Thank you, everybody that's given a call so far. And you've been a wonderful guest, Sarah, to be kind of answering all these questions, giving little insights as you can. We really appreciate it.
Oh, I love it.
Hey, Christian, welcome to the Dusty Wheel. How you doing tonight?
Hey, Matt. Hey, Sarah. How are y'all?
Hello.
Great. So, what's your dying question here? What do you want to know from Sarah?
Well, so I'm currently on my 6th physical read through of The Wheel of Time, and I'm on my 3rd audiobook read through.
Excellent.
What I'd like to know is, so listening to the audiobooks, I started listening a year ago, and ever since I started listening to them, the pronunciations like that were in my head before have all changed, and the voices like Michael as Loyal and as Nard and all those things are now headcanon for me.
Sure.
So what I was wondering is, for the show, do y'all go to the audiobooks for any like clarification on pronunciations or voice, and is there any continuity between the audiobooks and the show?
Sure. Well, I think that I read in some interviews that Robert Jordan did that, and these were early interviews, I couldn't find any later, but that he spoke a little bit with Michael and Kate in the beginning of the series about word pronunciations, but after that he didn't really chat with them, and somebody can correct me, but from the early books at least, he didn't have a lot of interaction with Michael and Kate. And so as a result of knowing that, it became important that we didn't actually use all of the book pronunciations, because that wouldn't necessarily be correct, because they weren't necessarily Robert Jordan approved, if that makes sense. And again, I couldn't find anything. Yeah. I could only find one statement in one interview that he said that, and that was like in 1998. And so it was, so it was still kind of earlier, or like halfway through, I guess. And so there's that. And we are lucky enough to have the phonetic spellings in the glossary. And so that, coupled with our incredible dialect coach, Naomi, we would sit and say the words over and over to each other. So we'd be facing each other and we would say them, over, like, is it Althor? Is it Althor? Rand Althor, Rand Althor, and go over and back and forth and back and forth, and so, but at the end of the day, there is incredible continuity. That's a big part of what a dialect coach does, is she listens to every single line as it's being spoken. And if somebody is pulling out, and maybe pronouncing something one way or another, she'll go run in between, takes and be like, oh, don't forget to lean into, the vowel sound more on this. And so we are paying incredibly close attention and are trying to have continuity in that way. And then if there's any sort of question about a pronunciation, at the end of the day, it's Rafe's call. And so he'll be provided a list of audio files and be like, what do you think sounds better? And then from that, he'll also get the list of phonetic spellings of how Robert Jordan suggests. And I would say he always wants what the suggestion is, from my point of view. So that's how we've been attacking the word pronunciations. It's a big job.
That's awesome. That's an awesome, great question.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Christian. So that question, it's interesting that you're getting that now, right? That was a question Robert Jordan would obviously get a lot. That's a question that Kate Redding and Michael Kramer, and the process that you just explained is a lot of care for something. I mean, some people would say, well, who cares? In the end, it's just like, however they say it, they say it. So I love that they care. And like I said, and that the dialect coach and the scenario, the process that you just explained sounded like a lot of fun. Like, I want to cut that clip out of you saying Rand Althor or Rand or Aelthor. I can't remember how you said it, but that's okay.
It's the difference between the American, how an American would say all or al.
Gotcha.
All or al. And so going but then you got to take it a step further and then go and look at all of the words with that variation of all and that type of, or al, that type of from Old Tongue or whatever, and then make sure that all of the other words follow the same pattern. And so we're developing speech patterns. And like I said, building out entire languages from the existing seed that we already have, which is phenomenal. And then just taking it, to the Dothraki level and just having a full blown language, which is, I geek out over it. And that's been probably one of my favorite parts is working with Naomi and, on the words. But speaking to the level of care, Matt, that, I'm lucky enough to, all of the department heads, I think, are equally as passionate about their department. And so, that same level of care is just put into everything that we do. And it's, it's really special.
Exactly. And that's, I think, as a fan, right? I can't say that I don't have strong opinions about, I get to play just the fan side of this, right? So like when we were talking earlier and you were saying that as, being part of this team, you have to kind of take care and listen to the creative process. For me, it's like, no, I'm really biased and I want certain things and, and I want it to be a certain way. And it's very much fan service, but to me, right? Not just every fan, every fan doesn't love the same characters. So I think that aspect of this is really interesting. Just the care that you're explaining that they're taking. That's what I care about in the end, right? Like, it doesn't have to be my show, right? It doesn't have to be, I just love that they care enough and to make it consistent, to dot all the I's, cross all the T's, whatever kind of cliche you want to add in there. But that aspect of what you just explained, kind enough to answer everyone's questions there, just, at least for me, like I have zero worries. Will it be my vision? No, like I'm not adapting the series. That's not mine, right? But what it will be is, it will be the vision of people who are taking great care to try to build, an amazing show. That's how you explained it, right? And so that's exciting for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is kind of speaks to an even larger type of question or statement, is that, yes, there's so much care. And it's not going to be anybody's version of the Wheel of Time that reads the books. It's just, that's not what it's going to be, because it's a TV show. And so, this is something that I take a lot of comfort in whenever I think about things. Though Rafe did come out and say that he's always so surprised at, whenever he does watch these videos of you adapting, because he watches them, you adapting and people adapting the series, is the types of cuts that you all make, and he's always just so surprised at how ruthless everybody is. And that's what he was saying in this Q&A, is that people, I think, are going to be really pleased with how much we do track the series. And so there's that. But Robert Jordan made a statement, and I don't remember the date exactly, but basically people were discussing the fate and free will. And he talked about it, and he put it in a way of saying each age as it comes around again is playing with the same deck of cards. And so that deck of cards gets shuffled and then dealt out in a different way each time. And as that person comes to that card, it's a fork in the road, and they get to choose whether or not to go left or right. And so that's kind of how I see the TV show. The wheel has turned, and we are now in the age of TV. We're in the age of television, and we're playing with the same deck of cards on the show. And, so I think that should be taken into consideration, or it could be taken into consideration from the fans of like, oh, well, if I'm applying the book's canon to watching this show, I could be in a Portal Stone world, I could be in a Mirror world, or I could be in the next age, and choose to love it for that. Because the fact is that the books always exist, and they'll always be the books, and nobody can ruin the books for you unless you allow that to happen. You know?
And the point you're making is when we live adapt, I think at one point we cut Loyal until I brought him back and all this stuff. And I'm sure that's just like shocking to him and I think there's just this idea, right? I don't know if it's this idea of like, well, if you're going to adapt it, you have to kind of cut these storylines. You have to,
right.
And I think it's just all of our, from a fan perspective of how would we go about making these decisions, and none of them feel great, but you do them. And I love that Rafe is like, wow, like you guys are ruthless. Like I'm trying to, adapt the Wheel of Time, not cut out major characters. So By the way, thank you so much again. I know I've said it a couple times throughout the entire discussion. Thanks for coming on. And
it's been so great. I've loved every minute of it. Honestly.
It's been a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you for everybody that called in. Your questions were fantastic. It was awesome to get to know. A lot of these stories, Sarah, I've never heard before. It's fun to kind of dig into how this all began for you. I'm so grateful that this is what you're experiencing. So grateful that you're there. And I can't wait until, months down the road. I honestly, when the series comes out, this is just going to continue to get more exciting and engaging for the fans. This feels like a whole new books are being. I've said this before, right?
Yes,
the books are coming out again. Like they're being re-released.
It really does feel like that, and that gives me all of like the warm and fuzzies. So thank you for kind of bringing back that speculation that we, as fans all love and crave, and doing it in this platform and format is just genius. I've told you, off air so many times just how much I respect this format. It is such a brilliant idea, and it, continues fan engagement, and you're getting to talk to us in real time. And that is just so important. And so thank you for having this show weekly. It's, genuinely one of my favorite parts of my week when I get to watch. So
we'll keep doing it.
Awesome.
We'll keep doing it.
Yeah,
we've loved it. We've loved it. And it's been fun to bring it, there's so many content creators right now, and it's been so fun to get to know them and listen to how they talk. So many fans are just re-engaging or have always been engaging and are just trying different platforms. This has been a lot of fun. So
it's so great.
And like I said, hopefully we'll have you back again. And we'll do a Loony Theories panel. We'll do some fun stuff as the year goes on, I'm sure.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
Yeah, right? Me too. By the way, everyone, thank you for being here. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do. That's really cool of you. Or like this video, that's fun too. We really appreciate that. I think it goes a long way to help our videos show up on YouTube for other fans to find them. And don't forget, next Wednesday we'll have Brandon here, and that's gonna be just as fun as
Dreams.
Dreams.
Right.
It's gonna be.
Oh my God.
It's going to be fun to get his opinion and kind of how this is going, and also kind of speak about his own works. It's going to be it's going to be a blast. So,
oh my God.
As we say from the Dusty Wheel, good night and smash to black.
If you want news and rumors,